When someone says or does something that triggers you, the first instinct is often to personalize it. You feel like their words are aimed directly at you. Their behavior is somehow a reflection of your value, and that's why anger or irritation rises so quickly. But the truth is, what people say and do is almost always a mirror of their own mindset, their own insecurities, and their own struggles. When you can start separating who you are from how others act, you immediately take back power because their behavior is no longer tied to your identity. If someone snaps at you, instead of letting that snap define your mood, you can recognize it as evidence of where they are mentally, not evidence of your worth. Think about the last time someone cut you off in traffic. It's so easy to take it personally, to believe they're being disrespectful to you specifically, but that driver has no idea who you are. They're simply acting out of their own impatience or stress. If you can step back and see that it's not about you, you save yourself from carrying anger that doesn't belong to you. The same principle applies in conversations, arguments, or even subtle disrespect. Someone rolling their eyes at you or dismissing your opinion says far more about their emotional maturity than about your value. The less you attach your identity to their reaction, the less they can bother you. A big part of not being easily angered is understanding projection. People project what they carry inside. A person filled with bitterness will speak bitterly, someone filled with insecurity will try to put others down, and someone filled with kindness will naturally treat others with grace. If you find yourself absorbing the negativity of others, it's usually because you haven't yet made that mental separation between their inner world and your reality. When you learn to see every reaction as a window into them, not into you, you stop letting it pierce through your peace. You begin to live in a way that feels lighter because you're no longer weighed down by every careless word or action directed at you. This doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior or let people walk over you. Boundaries still matter, and self-respect is still important. But there's a difference between enforcing a boundary calmly and erupting in anger because you feel insulted. One comes from strength, the other from insecurity. If you recognize that someone's disrespect comes from their own limitations, you can address it without carrying their negativity inside of you. You can say no, you can step away, you can decide what role they play in your life, all without the emotional toll of anger dragging you down. That's the beauty of understanding that their actions aren't about you. Imagine how freeing it feels when you no longer get hooked by other people's moods. A coworker's sharp tone doesn't ruin your day. A friend's forgetfulness doesn't make you spiral. A stranger's rudeness doesn't steal your peace. When you understand that their behavior is a reflection of them, it creates a shield around you. That shield protects your calm, your joy, and your energy. Instead of getting triggered, you become curious. You start asking, what must be going on with them to act that way? That shift in perspective not only keeps you from getting angry, but also makes you more compassionate and observant. The key is reminding yourself daily that you are not the target of every careless word or rude action. You are not defined by the way others treat you. You are defined by how you choose to respond. When you can internalize that truth, anger becomes optional. Bother becomes temporary. Other people lose their grip on your emotions because you've learned to see their behavior as their own reflection, not as a reflection of your worth. Most of the time when anger takes over, it's not because of what actually happened, but because of how quickly we reacted without giving ourselves space. The pause between what someone does and how you respond is where all your power lives. If you don't give yourself that pause, you hand over control of your emotions to whoever triggered you. But if you can train yourself to hold back for just a few seconds, you interrupt the cycle of immediate reaction. In that space, you can choose your words, choose your tone, and choose whether the situation deserves your energy or not. Think of how many conflicts spiral out of control simply because one person reacted too fast. A sharp comment triggers another sharp comment, and before long, the entire exchange has escalated into anger. But if even one person paused, breathed, and responded calmly, the whole dynamic would shift. That's the strength of self-control. It doesn't just protect your peace, it also diffuses unnecessary conflict. Responding instead of exploding makes you the one in control of the conversation because you're not letting your emotions dictate the outcome. That pause doesn't have to be long. Sometimes it's one deep breath. Sometimes it's counting silently to 3. Sometimes it's just a deliberate moment of silence before speaking. What matters is that you've disrupted the automatic reaction. In that disruption, you create space for wisdom. You can ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Do I really need to respond in the same tone? Will this matter tomorrow? Most of the time, that brief reflection is enough to stop anger from taking root because you've shifted from emotional impulse to rational choice. Training yourself to pause is like building a muscle. At first, it feels unnatural. You'll catch yourself reacting before you think, and you'll wish you had handled it differently. But with repetition, you start noticing the triggers earlier. You start remembering to breathe before speaking. You start choosing your tone with more intention, and eventually it becomes second nature. The pause becomes a habit, and that habit becomes your shield against being easily bothered. It's not about suppressing feelings, it's about giving yourself time to guide them in the right direction. When you pause, you also show strength to others. People expect anger when they push your buttons, and when you don't give it, it surprises them. That surprise shifts the power dynamic. Suddenly, you're the calm one, the composed one, the person who can't be rattled easily. That composure makes people respect you more because it shows you're not at the mercy of every little annoyance. You've trained yourself to be in control, and that makes your presence stronger. The more you practice this, the less exhausting your days become. Instead of wasting energy on small arguments or irritations, you hold on to your peace. You respond with clarity instead of chaos, and people start noticing the difference. You become the person who doesn't get dragged into drama, the one who can stay calm even when others are losing control. And that all starts with something as simple as a pause. So much of the frustration people feel comes from trying to control what is outside of their reach. They want others to behave a certain way, to speak with kindness, to treat them with respect, to act with fairness, and when that doesn't happen, anger builds. But the truth is, you cannot control how another person thinks, what they believe, or how they choose to act. The only thing you ever have real authority over is your own state of mind. When you shift your focus from trying to manage everyone else to managing your own reactions, you free yourself from constant irritation. You stop being tied to the unpredictable moods and choices of others and instead anchor yourself in self-control. The reason this is powerful is because other people will always disappoint your expectations in one way or another. A friend will forget a promise, a coworker will speak out of line, a stranger will act rudely, and if your peace is based on whether they behave well, you will always live at the mercy of circumstances. But when your peace is built on your own ability to control how you respond, then no matter what happens around you, you hold the key. You are no longer dependent on external order to feel calm. You become steady, grounded, and unshaken because you've put responsibility for your emotional state back where it belongs, with you. This doesn't mean ignoring bad behavior or pretending that problems don't exist. It means learning that the way you experience those problems is determined by the perspective you choose. If someone insults you, you can take it as an attack and get defensive, or you can recognize it as a reflection of their inner world and choose not to carry it. If someone disrespects your boundary, you can rage at them endlessly, or you can calmly enforce the consequence and protect your peace. You always have a choice in how to engage, and that choice is where your strength lies. Think of it like steering a ship. The ocean will never be predictable. It will bring storms, waves, and unexpected winds. If you waste energy trying to control the sea, you'll drown in frustration because it is beyond your command. But if you focus on controlling your ship, your sails, your direction, your reaction to the waves, you can navigate through anything. Life is no different. People will act in ways you don't like. Situations will unfold in ways you can't predict. But if you master yourself, you'll never feel like a victim of circumstances. You'll always feel capable of steering your own course. This shift in focus also makes you far less reactive. When someone behaves poorly, instead of thinking, "Why are they doing this to me?" you think, "How do I want to respond in a way that aligns with my standards?" That subtle change makes you calmer, more confident, and more respected. Others notice that they can't easily push you into anger or frustration, and that stability becomes a powerful presence. The less you try to control them, the more influence you actually have, because people are naturally drawn to the calm in the storm. When you stop fighting for control over things you'll never own, you gain incredible energy back. You no longer exhaust yourself with resentment over what others should have done differently. You take that energy and pour it into what you can change. Your mindset, your choices, your growth. That's how you step into freedom from anger and irritation. You're no longer chained to the behavior of others because your peace doesn't depend on them, it depends on you. One of the most effective ways to stop feeling angry or bothered is to practice perspective taking. When something happens that frustrates you, instead of immediately focusing on how it impacts you, try shifting the lens to consider what might be happening in the other person's world. Maybe the person who snapped at you is carrying stress you can't see. Maybe the driver who cut you off is rushing to handle something urgent. Maybe the colleague who dismissed your idea has insecurities about their own position. This shift doesn't excuse poor behavior, but it explains it in a way that makes it less personal. And the less personal it feels, the harder it is for anger to stick to you. When you approach situations from this mindset, you automatically gain distance from the heat of the moment. Instead of reacting with raw emotion, you begin analyzing with curiosity. You start asking yourself, what must they be going through for them to act this way? That single question creates a pause that softens your response, because compassion takes the place of irritation. Even if you don't know the answer, the act of considering their perspective changes the energy you bring to the situation. It turns conflict into understanding and anger into composure. Perspective taking also reminds you that everyone carries battles you can't see. A stranger's rudeness might come from pain they never talk about. A friend's silence might stem from something weighing on their heart. When you remember this, you stop making every behavior about you, and instead, you see it as a piece of their own story. That awareness reduces the urge to retaliate or escalate, because you realize their actions are not an attack on your worth, but a reflection of their struggle. This way of thinking naturally keeps you from feeling as bothered by the little things that used to ignite you. This practice doesn't just improve your own peace of mind, it improves your relationships too. When you consistently try to see things from another person's side, you become more empathetic, more patient, and more understanding. People feel safer around you because they know you won't blow up at every mistake or misunderstanding. Instead, they sense that you're willing to consider their intentions and circumstances. That builds stronger trust and deeper respect, which in turn reduces the situations that might otherwise lead to conflict and irritation. Of course, perspective taking doesn't mean you let people mistreat you. It simply gives you the ability to respond with clarity instead of anger. You can still set boundaries, you can still communicate assertively, but you do it from a place of calm awareness rather than emotional reaction. That difference changes everything, because instead of fueling the fire with anger, you're controlling the outcome with steady presence. You're no longer pulled into other people's emotional storms. You become the anchor in the middle of them. The more you practice seeing through other people's eyes, the less likely you are to feel provoked. Anger begins to fade because your brain is trained to look deeper than the surface. Irritation loses its power because you know it's rarely about you in the first place. And over time, this habit rewires the way you experience conflict altogether, making you less reactive, more thoughtful, and far harder to disturb emotionally. Emotional resilience is like armor that shields you from the chaos of daily interactions. It doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. It means you've built the strength to handle them without letting them control you. When someone tries to provoke you or life throws an unexpected challenge your way, resilience gives you the ability to absorb it, process it, and move forward without carrying the weight. Developing this kind of strength takes practice, but once you have it, you stop being easily shaken. You're not as quick to snap, not as quick to feel insulted, and not as quick to lose your peace. Resilience is built in the small choices you make every day, choosing not to respond to a rude comment, choosing to let go of minor frustrations, choosing to redirect your focus towards something productive instead of replaying an annoyance in your head. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you're strengthening that muscle. Over time, those choices add up and create a mindset where anger is no longer your default. Instead of reacting emotionally, you start reacting intentionally, and that shift changes the entire way you experience people and situations. Detachment plays a huge role in resilience. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging to the need for everything to go your way. When you accept that people will make mistakes, that not everyone will agree with you, that things won't always be fair, you stop being surprised by it. That acceptance makes you harder to offend because you already know life is full of imperfections. Detachment frees you from taking things personally, and when you don't take things personally, you don't give anger a place to live. Self-control is another part of building resilience. The more you practice controlling your reactions, the easier it gets to remain calm even when someone pushes your buttons. At first, it feels like a battle inside, your emotions pulling one way and your discipline pulling another. But the more you train yourself, the quicker you can shift from frustration to clarity. This control gives you confidence because you know you can trust yourself not to explode, no matter how tense the situation becomes. That trust in yourself creates a steady foundation that nothing external can easily shake. Resilience also grows stronger when you take care of yourself mentally and physically. When you're rested, when your body feels good, when your mind is nourished with positive input, you naturally have more patience. But when you're drained, exhausted, or constantly overwhelmed, even the smallest thing can set you off. Building resilience is about more than just mindset. It's about lifestyle choices that keep you steady. Exercise, reflection, meaningful connections, and intentional rest all play a role in making you less reactive and more balanced. With resilience, you no longer get pulled into every emotional storm around you. You stop giving people the power to decide how you feel. Their moods, their words, their mistakes lose the ability to disturb your calm because you've built an inner strength that doesn't depend on them. You're not controlled by external noise, you're guided by internal steadiness. And when that steadiness becomes your normal state, anger and irritation start to feel like distant strangers rather than constant visitors.